Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, everyone. CT Luna here. We made it. I made it. 27 days of the audio lab. I think the very final audio drop dropped on Tuesday. And I'll be honest, the past 2 weeks, I held out, or I kind of had to just batch record them because I knew that I had a lot of projects going on. Hold on 2 seconds. I gotta mute this baby. Okay, that was weird. Okay, so I'm actually doing something I've never done before, which is a live. Well, I've done lives before, but I also have the YouTube going up on my screen in case folks decide to join the chat and drop chats as they're watching. Ditto with Substack. So right now, maybe I'm the only viewer that's clocking myself, so I can see that. And I should probably not look in here because it's very distracting, but at least I have the volume down. So we made it. 27 days of the audio lab where I basically read this book, Brown Beyond Borders, Emerging into Golden Multidimensionality, from start to finish, chapter by chapter. I didn't go chapter by chapter. I went passage by passage. So sometimes it was half a chapter, sometimes it was a whole chapter. It really depended how much reading it would require of me in a sitting. Anyway, I was going on about how I was just kind of cruising through, or batch recorded over the last 2 weekends for the upcoming several days, because in my day job, I'm quite busy. So I was not able to just kind of join live and check things out, but that's okay because I think most of my audience is actually in the United States. And in case you don't know, I'm based in Central Europe. So I live in a small village in northern Switzerland. And my timing is about 6 hours ahead of East Coast time, New York time, and 9 hours ahead of West Coast time. So, folks in LA or whatever are 9 hours behind my time, which is why I tend to have a lot of my Golden Creatives Talk interviews on in the morning, whether it's on a Friday morning or whatever. Anyway, first of all, I just wanted to thank you all for following the audio lab, the live reading, and well, definitely it was unrehearsed reading. So it was recorded live reading of passages from this book every day this month. And before I get into like the Ask Me Anythings, and thank you folks, some of you have submitted comments, some of you dropped me DMs, some of you made comments through YouTube, which I'll talk about later. And so I've kind of like pulled together some of your questions. A lot of the questions, before I get into questions, let's talk about announcements. Announcement number one. First of all, I will be taking a sabbatical from all things social media during the month of August. So you won't really be seeing much from me. I do have the plan to write a couple newsletters. So some of the Substack subscribers will get those from me in August, but I won't be sort of tuning into the Substack and getting jiggy on the socials throughout the month of August. And the reason why is because I'm going to be drafting book 2. I actually have some handwritten notes here. I was going to show them to you, but I'm going to be writing book 2. So I really would like to just put all of my focus there. I will be continuing to be working full time during the time that I'm away. So away from socials. So I'll be working full time. And then I will also be writing probably some evenings, but mostly on weekends. And that's when I actually get most of my social activity in as well. So that was the first announcement. I'm going to be taking a little bit of time off during the month of August. Just know that, like, if you're a free subscriber or a paid subscriber, you still have access to all of the stuff in the archive throughout the month of August. Like, just because I'm not there doesn't mean I'm taking all of my published stuff down. I am moving all of the stuff that's, still outside of the paywall into the paywall. Or when I say all of the stuff, definitely all of the audio labs except the last one will be going behind a paywall. And I guess I should just let you know that if you do become a paying subscriber, even if you just subscribe for a month and not do the annual plan, you will get a free ebook, the ebook of Brown Beyond Borders. So that means that you would have access to all of the audio drops, section by section, in Substack, and you would also have the ebook in your drop to your phone or your Kindle or whatever, wherever you read EPUBs. So that's available to you. Again, if it's only for the month, then you would have the access to the audio drops for that month that you're subscribed. Or, obviously, if you subscribe for a year, which would be very welcome and very much cherished, you can get the ebook, and you would have access to the audio drops for the entire year. And if you decide to become a founding member or part of that inner circle, I can't remember how much it is, but it is upwards of 100. I will actually send to you. I have a few more copies, as you can see, of my ebooks. I will send to you a signed copy, free of charge. I will be asking you for your mailing address so that I can write you a little autograph and a little note card and pop it in the mail for you. And yes, I do actually walk it to the mail. So just so you are forewarned. All right. So I've covered that announcement. So that was announcement number 2. Oh, announcement number 3, and this is muy importante, and I'm so excited about this. I am going to be a speaker at the BIPOC Author Summit. This is a summit that brings together our BIPOC authors or aspiring authors. There's a whole host of wonderful writers and authors and other creatives in the BIPOC literary space who are coming together and sharing their tips, tricks, techniques, insight, knowledge. So there's a really nice host of guests across 3 days, the 13th, 14th, and 15th of August. You can register by scanning that QR code. That QR code is an affiliate link, but the registration is free unless you decide that you want to access all of the things outside of the summit period and have unlimited access to the presentations and the summit goodies and all of that stuff. So free registration through that QR code. Here we go, through the QR code. And yeah, I think it's a really nice roundup of really amazing speakers. So that is what I wanted to address about that. And now I think we can get to some of the questions that I got about the audio lab experiment. So I don't think I can see that anybody else has joined, which is fine, because like I said, I collated some of your questions. And let me see if I can, in the meantime, also put up here we go. So you can get my book, Brown Beyond Borders, which I spent all of July reading by clicking on that QR code right there. And you can, I think that points you to a place where you can choose your retailer of choice, whether it's whether it's Amazon or a bookshop or Smashwords, whatever's your favorite, you can get your book here. So that's where you can get that book. So what did I do? I spent the month of July reading passages from Brown Beyond Borders. And I think the first question is, why did I decide to read the memoir out loud for 27 days straight? And I think the other question that I'm trying to kind of collate what people have asked me as well, like, and what did it teach me about my own voice? Um, okay, so the first part of the question, why did I decide to do the 27-day audio lab? I actually didn't know it was going to be 27 days, but I think that's really what it boiled down to, or it ended on the 27th. Oof, I can't remember. But I can say this. Last year, when I realized that I was going to actually publish the collection of works that I had already sort of written and assembled, it was around June of last year that I decided I would do that. And I had also decided that I would be self-publishing. And so then I started to think, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to think like a publisher thinks, which means I have to start thinking along the lines of marketing, getting the word out there, um, and just making sure that people know about my book. And so I started to explore, but I knew I did not have the wherewithal to edit the book structurally and then also line edit the book and go through the process of finding a designer to do the cover and all the things. So, yeah, at the time I didn't even have a website. So I really started to hunt around for the best platform to get that process started. Get the marketing and promotion process started, which included like, I need a website stat. And so that's where I found out about Substack. I'd already followed several people in LinkedIn, some of whom were leaving LinkedIn for good and jumping over to Substack for good for all sorts of reasons. And so I just started to look into the Substack thing. And there is a little bit of a learning curve involved with Substack. Oh, I need to shut this up. There is a bit of a learning curve with Substack, but the good thing about Substack is that it's quite easy once you sort of understand some of the different areas, like the difference between a profile and a publication, that sort of thing. And it's also quite standardized. And I did enjoy the fact that if people subscribe to your Substack, it did house the subscriptions and the subscribers' contact information in Substack, but that you could also carry them over to an email distributor and own your emails outright as well. And then, so I enjoyed the transportability of that kind of contact that I would have with my readers that I would be cultivating. So I literally did start with 0 subscribers, 0 followers in July of last year. My growth has been pretty slow, and it's kind of been, or let's say slow and steady. And I'm okay with that actually, because, I know I'm going to sound a little cliche, but Substack subscribers and participants are a little bit different from, followers in other social media spaces. So I did really appreciate, I do appreciate the connections that I'm making on Substack a lot. So this is my pitch to Substack. Mind you, I am aware of Substack's shortcomings, including its leadership, but I don't want to get into that discussion right now, especially since I'm talking about a book like Brown Beyond Borders, which is, all about my journey from sort of being othered and not sort of understanding the category I fit into, and then to kind of summarize, and then to sort of emerge into a space of agency and self-knowing that I call emerging into golden multidimensionality, that I think is a quality that's shared among, I would say, most of humanity that goes through a process of feeling like they're on the outside and not knowing where they fit in, to realizing, oh, actually, where I'm supposed to be fitting in is my own skin. So back to the question: why did I decide to read the memoir out loud for 27 days straight? So the other reason, so basically, now, fast forward a year later, I was starting to think about, okay, in June, I think or maybe even in May, I was like, ooh, I'm coming up on a 1 year anniversary with Substack. And I don't really have any plans for July. I know I'm going to be staying in town. I'm going to be working from home as I normally do. So, why don't I do something? And already knew then that I was going to be writing in book two. But I also knew that beginning to write in book two would remove me from the content of Brown Beyond Borders, emerging into golden multidimensionality. And so I said to myself, you know what? I do have the intention of getting a hardback version of Brown Beyond Borders and also releasing the audiobook at the same time. It'll probably be around Christmas of this year, so December 2026, knock on wood. But I've never read an audiobook before. So I really didn't know what to expect. And I figured probably the best way to practice is to sort of sit down on a very regular basis, a daily basis at the beginning of July. And then it kind of drifted into a once a weekend basis or a lots of moments over the weekend basis, and read the book. And that was a really interesting experience. So I feel like I need to do a few things. So back to the other question: what did reading from Brown Beyond Borders teach me about my own voice? Um, Actually, I have to say I do have experience writing, and I feel like I have a general awareness of my own voice. And the experience that I have in writing is as a ghostwriter in a business context. So I'm also used to understanding what isn't my voice, and I listen to the voices of others for whom I write. So I think I had a very clear idea of what that is. What did it teach me about my voice? I think what I enjoyed seeing as I was reading it out loud, I felt very comfortable reading it. It felt very natural, or the cadence of the phrasing and the the structure of scenes and chapters felt very natural. It felt very much like the way that I think and build around an idea. And it was nice to hear it reflected back to me out loud as I was reading through the books. I will be honest, I did not listen to any of the recordings, which actually was another piece of my strategy or plan, which is I do know I'm a perfectionist. Actually, my talk at the BIPOC Author Summit is actually about perfectionism and how it really can mess with your productivity and getting to the end. So there you go, folks. Like, go to the BIPOC Author Summit and hear the talk. So I know that about myself, that I can basically edit myself into, like, I can edit my work to death and then still not go out with it So I think one of the conditions of this audio lab was that I would be doing them live, or I would record them and then schedule them and not listen to them, because I knew if I went back and listened to them, I would probably want to like cut this part out, reread that part, and then it would become a production, which I just don't have time for. So that was one thing. I think the other thing that I learned about my voice is that I did surprise myself. I don't think I'm a very bad comedian. I will mangle a punchline, and I don't try to have, I don't try for humor in my writing. Um, but I think there were some parts that genuinely made me smile, uh, and because of that, I think I was a little bit proud of myself for seeing my personality shine through in a way that feels authentic to me. So it really did feel like an honest. I feel like my voice was reflected honestly in my words and my work. There were only a few areas where I feel like I could have improve that. But I think that's also something that every writer feels about their work. I mean, it has been a year since I've completed and finished messing with it. So, I think I've just evolved in a year, and I can feel that in my writing too. But I don't feel like it's not like, I don't know, looking at your high school photos and kind of being embarrassed by the naivete of your youth, teenage youth. So I hope that answered the question about what it taught me about my own voice. I also learned some other things in the audio lab, which are a bit more technical in nature and a little less rambly. And I actually kind of took some notes down. So I learned what it's like to actually rip and read. And this was actually something that I wanted to understand, if I were to, or when I decide to go forth and either rent a studio space or a recording studio space. I don't know if I'm going to do that yet, or if it's just a matter of getting the right equipment and sort of setting up my room or my mic in an appropriate way so that it doesn't record sort of that hollow sound that bounces off the bare walls of my house. So there were some technical elements that I learned, because I know that there is a little bit of like, I know that this microphone is not up to standard for Amazon's Audible. So that's one thing. Um, and, I mean, if I record it once, I might as well record it once for all of the platforms, and in which case I should have the right equipment for it. So I am looking around for microphones. If you have any recommendations, I'm all ears. So please drop them in the comments or send them to me in a DM. I'm I'm shopping. Um, the other thing that it taught me about reading is uh, that you do kind of have to read it once in advance out loud, to see what areas you might be stumbling over, things that may seem natural to the eye when you're looking at it, or to my eye, because I do know the cadence of my voice, and I do feel like that was mostly reflected in here. There are times when your brain will just kind of complete a sentence in a way that it wants to, rather than the way that it's on the words on the page. So I think it's a matter of like highlighting for that. Oh, there's also a hilarious part where I really was not prepared for this, where there's one scene where there are several voices in there, and I don't know how to read different kind of voices. I can hear the voices in my head. I can hear their accents in my head, but I can't do their accents. I'm not a vocal actress that way. So yeah, there is one embarrassing one, which I think is already behind the paywall, where I tried to do a British accent, and I think it made me laugh out loud or laugh live. Um, yeah, so maybe highlight for those and rehearse for those before you record. And then I would suggest that you record it like in succession, or, go back and read it over and over again, and then flag the areas that you want to edit. Which brings me to the next thing about what I learned, which is, I think part of this process, I do want to look for somebody who is good at editing audio clips or audio in general, and can also provide that sort of direction and coaching. And maybe like once I've done the reading, delegate it to that person, and pay them and have them kind of piece everything together. Um, one of the things that I learned about the Audio Lab is that it is pretty darned effective for engaging with your readers in near real time. And I think this was probably the biggest aha moment for me, especially since I've announced that I'm going to be writing book 2. I am going to definitely do an audio lab-esque, maybe it won't be daily, but relatively regularly, audio lab pre-read of my pre-order book. So it might not be the edited version or the fully edited version. It might still be like as I am going through my revisions and edits, or fresh after revision and edit, and just kind of carry along my readers on the audio journey with me, because I've learned that many of my readers who have bought the book and supported me, they actually would rather listen to their audiobooks than read them. And I actually attribute that to our lives. Like, we are crazy busy individuals. That's who we are. That's where we are. Um, and there's something to be said for being able to just kind of plug in your podcast or your audio drop or whatever into your car or into your AirPods, while you're washing the dishes or driving to work or whatever, and just kind of keeping up with your lecture that way. So, okay, and then back to the effective for engaging in near real time. One of the things I didn't notice, I just didn't clock this in that way, is that Substack will push out, if you have it set up that way, Substack will also push out your audio drops to YouTube or whatever else you've got connected to it. And I went into my YouTube about a month after having started reading the book. Not a month, a week after starting to read the book. And a bunch of people had dropped comments about little things, and just a really interesting um, synchronicity of topics. The segment that I read, oof, what was it called? Can a Black or brown person really find friendship with a white person? That dropped about a day or two after the news came out about Nolan Wells' demise. And that is a whole other story that I am still processing. So I'm not going to get into it. But some of the comments that came up on YouTube, not so much in Substack, but definitely in YouTube, I think, one person even said, just ask Nolan Wells. And then some other people made comments about more thoughtful, I shouldn't say more thoughtful, but also thoughtful comments about their relationship dynamics, either being the white person in a community of Black people or being in a relationship, a deep relationship with a Black or brown person, and really understanding and experiencing first and secondhand what the real dynamic and what the real sort of friction point is in race relations. And it does relate directly to a passage in my book where I describe a very close friendship I had with a young woman in college. And, and she basically said after, I don't know, months of us, sort of like being inseparable and doing all the things together, where one day she just kind of announced that, she could never date a Black guy. And it just, it really, it ruptured our friendship ultimately. Not to say that we had any beef or we got into any, argument or disagreement or static around it, but I could no longer click with her in the way that I had before, not knowing her stance on, her prejudice. And it's heartbreaking when you have something happen like that, because I think, I mean, it's on the one hand, it's heartbreaking. On the other hand, it is clarifying, because then you can kind of move through spaces more honestly, understanding that if somebody has such a hard position based on a feeling like that, then it does clarify the relationship you really have with people. And certainly I felt, um, even though I was hurt, it was clear to me that, I am Black, and, my father is Black. And if it was very hard for me to, and it's not something that we ever talked about or addressed, but if somebody couldn't sort of see that I am the product of a Black and white relationship, and that she could say something like that to me, that there would be, that it basically showed me the chasm that really separated us. Oh gosh, that was a lot. Yeah, that was one of the things. Oh, the other thing I think that I learned from that was that Substack isn't everything. Which is, I entered Substack because I really only wanted to manage a one social media channel. I have a day job. I don't have the time to be managing all the socials. So that's fine and dandy. And it was great that these reads pushed out to YouTube. And so did the YouTube Shorts. And I think that the YouTube Shorts that pushed out I think some of them, were algorithmically shared with a wider audience. So I think I doubled my YouTube subscribers to a whole, I don't know, like 36 or something, from where it was before, thanks to, the effortless posting to Substack and then having it push automatically over to YouTube. So that was really interesting. I hadn't sort of factored that into my Grandmaster plan. And but it actually did give me some kind of returns in the sense of, increased subscribership on YouTube, and as well as increased subscribership on Substack. So that was the other learning. I do think that it has to do with showing up on a regular basis, but I also have to say that just dropping audios on a daily basis, or scheduling them to drop on a daily basis, won't do that alone. You still have to work your notes game. You still have to kind of engage with people the way that you would engage on Substack in conversation, in order to sort of complete subscription loop. But I do also think that dropping the audio notes is a way to kind of give potential subscribers value right off the bat, that I'm actually reading in my own voice. Oh, somebody mentioned that on YouTube. Reading in my own voice, my from my book, and sort of driving awareness around it in that way. What else? Oh yeah. So how did the shift from know your place at the beginning of the book and sort of like trying to understand what boxes I took into to this is my place, shape the final chapters of the book? Well, I think broadly speaking, that was the narrative arc that I saw in the content of my book in the first place. So people actually often ask me, how long did it take me to write a book? And I can't give them a straightforward answer. It took me, I could say, on the one hand, it took me about 2 months. And again, that's working weekdays, and then only writing in the evenings and weekends. It took me about 2 months. However, um, that was 2 months already having had journal entries and snippets of writings that I had collected over maybe 6 years or so. I think I started writing these passages in earnest like in 2016. Oh, wow. So that actually makes it even longer. 2008 years. So, so that's to say, I kind of reached for those passages in 2024. And I can kind of tell you this because it's connected to the passing of my father. So around that time, I was already starting to go through some of those writings. And after he passed away, and I was going through a grieving process and just kind of clearing through my life and some of the records of my life and continuing to journal, I noticed that there was kind of a progression of attitude about how I self-identify, and that progression is summarized on the cover. Brown Beyond Borders, where I'm a biracial, Black and brown, U.S. educated immigrant. So I was born in the Caribbean. I was born in Trinidad. My mom's Swiss. I grew up in Washington, D.C. So I've always been sort of in a beyond borders environment. Um, and then, so Brown Beyond Borders emerging into Golden Multidimensionality. And I think that that arc is sort of how it shaped the final chapters of the book, which is it really, it is a journey of understanding that my role in this life is not, and I think all of our roles is not to find the box that you fit in. It is to claim your own shape, whatever that shape is, and then let the world know that you fit in it and it fits with you. And so I think that's kind of what emerging into golden multidimensionality is all about. Um, there are elements and there were moments of learning that took place, I think, on Maui, which was in 2006 till about 2009, where I had a lot of transformative experiences that really helped sort of shift and reshape my view on topics of race, topics of um, agency and identity reclamation. And all of those things have contributed to the work that is Brown Beyond Borders emerging into golden multidimensionality. And by the way, another learning is, and I actually need to share this. which is that the term golden multidimensionality, or the term multidimensionality, was actually, and I do mention it in one of the chapters, this concept of the voice was actually downloaded to me. I do have a little bit of a marketing background, and I know that, like, it is a no-no to put, I don't know, a 50-syllable word on on the cover of your book. I don't know how many syllable multi-dimension. It's 8 syllables. Anyway, but it had to be there. It was downloaded to me, and I don't even know if that was the title in August and September. I think when I had handed this over to the designer, I still hadn't known that that would be the title just yet. Yeah, and she was a real good sport about it. um, but yeah, so I think the short answer to a long-winded version of my answer is that um, I saw that that story arc was there, and so I rearranged the chapters to kind of fit into that story arc. I also had to obviously create content to connect those story anecdotes in a way that created that logical sequence, which is, and I actually do think that that's how we live life and learn. That we live life and learn in kind of a spiral sort of way rather than sort of a clear up and down path. um, the book is arranged in a clearer up and down path, but the chronology of the events is actually kind of spiraling. Like, it does kind of go back and forth a little bit. And I feel like it wasn't confusing when I would go back into, I don't know, early childhood stories and then go forward into an adult story, because it was more about the themes and the topics and less about the chronology of the events. This isn't autobiography; it's a memoir. Um, the Golden Epiphany. So, what actually happened in that documents processing office of Maui when the Golden Children revelation came through? I think the Golden Children revelation. Do you have those moments when you're like, I don't know, having a really great time with your friends or something, and then that you have this almost like out of body experience or moment where you kind of like you just kind of see the scene and you see your body in it, but there's like a presence of you that it has kind of like zoomed out and can kind of like take in the whole moment. And I think that was that was what that time was like. It was a really um, mentally not so stimulating job, but the people in that team were really lovely. I really enjoyed going to that job and you know hanging out with the ladies and gentlemen in that document processing office. And they all had such great personalities. We had wonderful conversations. I mean, it was just like a little, I don't want to say family because we just enjoyed being in each other's company. And it was one of the first times where the voice entered my perspective so clearly, where it said, we are the golden children. So I had that kind of like out of body looking at us all just kind of having fun and some of us singing Celine Dion and what have you. And it was just like this kind of epiphany, like, oh, we're all here to be who we are. Like, we're not here to fit into a box or a shape. We're here to sort of uh, present our shape in the best way we know how, and so I think that was really what the Golden Children um, revelation was all about, and or what that voice was really trying to tell me. It really has nothing to do with the racial social construct and fiction of black, brown, Asian, whatever, right? Like that's not what this is about. That voice was really trying to say that it is our it is our diversity that makes us the golden children, and those of us who are really embodying and moving freely in our skin and the shape of who I am um, in every moment, those are the golden children. They are the future of the planet. Otherwise, I do think that the planet will not continue as we know it. In fact, I think if anything, a homogenization. I don't even know if it's possible, the non-diversification of humanity. But if it does go in that other direction, I think that will be the end of humanity and the planet as we know it. Anyway, that's my little, uh, yeah, that's my little comment there. I don't have any more questions from you, and I don't think I can see any questions from you. Thank you, though, viewers, for joining as you have. Very much appreciated. I do see a couple eyeballs are in here, so it's wonderful. Please remember, as I mentioned before, um, book 2 will be in the works in August. And just a little teaser, but I am pretty sure that book 2 is really going to be focusing more in the golden children direction of things. Not that we're going to be talking about race and golden children, but it is going to be more of a spiritual journey. And the focus is, I think, going to be on joy. It's something that I've been talking quite a lot about lately, and it's a message that I'm returning to, um, which is that I believe our core purpose, our main purpose in life, and it's a purpose that we all share, is to pursue our joy. That is the whole point of living this life. And the closer we get to it, the more joyful, satisfied, content we are. And the less satisfied and the less content and the more miserable and let down and disappointed we feel, the less we are moving in the direction of our purpose. At least that's the going in thesis. We'll see what turns up by the end of August, so watch this space. But yes, I'm going into that writerly mode of story exploration while putting pen to page. And yes, I am actually going to be putting pen to page because it's the most effective way, I think, now for me to avoid the distractions of social media and going down research rabbit holes, which I love to do. But when you go into drafting mode, sometimes you just have to focus on the drafting and then deal with research at a different other time. Yeah, and by the way, if you're ever interested in process, I love talking writing process. I could go on about it all day, but I won't do that here. So last but not least, remember, I am going to be presenting at the BIPOC Author Summit. I'm going to show that QR code, and I will be presenting on the lie of flawlessness and how perfectionism is keeping you from getting to the end. So I hope you do register. It's free to attend the BIPOC Author Summit this August 13th through 15th. And if you want to catch any of the presentations after or beyond the Author Summit, they will be made available. There is a nominal fee. So check that out if that's of interest to you. Otherwise, it's free to attend in real time. And last but not least, you can find me, subscribe to my Substack via this QR code. Remember, you can also get a copy of the ebook if you are a paying subscriber, even if you pay to subscribe for only a month. And that will unlock your unfettered access to all of the audio drops of the entire book so that you can follow it along on your ebook while you listen along through all the chapters. So I hope I have covered everything. That's where you can subscribe to my Substack. And that also puts you directly onto my email newsletter list. But Substack is where I am, I think, most engaged on a social level. Um, Last but not least, I want to thank you, dear readers and listeners of Brown Beyond Borders and subscribers of Brown Beyond Borders, the Substack publication, and now the subscribers to Golden Creatives Talk, my YouTube channel. I really appreciate your followership, your subscribership, and your engagement. The comments that you make are really deep. I really appreciate and I'm grateful for being given the gift of sort of holding a space for this kind of dialogue to take place. I am so thankful to all of you who have supported even just one out of the 27 days of the reading. I'm pretty sure it was 27 days. I really appreciate all of it. Very wise souls among us. This is a very unique group because this is not what the rest of the internet looks like, or this is not what a large part of the internet looks like. So I do acknowledge that the followership and the readership of Brown Beyond Borders and Golden Creatives Talk is a very special and unique audience. Yeah, I'm very grateful for having you all in this orbit. Um, so last but not least, I am stepping into my little writer's grotto. I will begin drafting book 2 this August, which means I am shutting down the digital social media services. Well, okay, I'm not shutting down completely, but I am shutting out of socials for the most part. So last but not least, I do have a guest lined up for Golden Creatives Talk on September 4th. Love Nafi is a wonderful Black, Brown, and Golden creative who is the director of a short film. And I can't wait to have her on our program and to talk about all things golden creativity and her short film, Love Song. So, with that, I will bid you adieu. She will be on the 4th of September. Ciao for now. Have a great summer, everybody, and we'll be in touch in September.